6 years in, she set down her coffee and told me she'd never actually been in love with me. Her name was Priya, and we met when we were both 24, at a work thing neither of us wanted to be at. She was the first woman I ever dated openly. Before her I'd had a couple of quiet, careful things that never had names. Priya was the one who made it real. She held my hand in public before I was ready to, and honestly I loved her for dragging me into my own life. We did all of it. We moved in together after a year. We got a gray cat named Biscuit who only liked her. We had a whole shelf of mugs from places we traveled. We were, by every measure I knew how to use, a real couple with a real life. So when she asked to talk that Sunday, and she made coffee instead of just pouring it, I knew something was coming. I just didn't know what. I need to say something and I need you to let me get through it, she said. I nodded. My hands went cold around my mug. I love you, she said. I do, but I've been trying to figure out for a long time whether I love you the way you're supposed to love the person you build a life with. And I don't think I do. I don't think I ever did. I remember the cat jumping up on the table right then, walking between us like nothing was happening, and I remember thinking how stupid it was that the world just keeps going during the worst moments. What are you saying? I said. It didn't come out like a question. She said she thought she'd loved the idea of us more than she'd loved being with me. She said when we got together, she'd been coming into herself too, figuring out who she was, and I was safe, and I was kind, and I was there. She said she confused relief with love, and by the time she understood the difference we already had a lease and a cat and a whole shelf of mugs, and it felt impossible to pull the thread without unraveling everything. So you stayed, I said. For years, because it was easier, because I didn't want to hurt you, she said. And because I kept hoping it would turn into the real thing if I waited long enough. I want to tell you I said something wise. I didn't. I got up and I walked into the bedroom and I sat on the edge of the bed we'd picked out together and I stared at the wall. I could hear her in the kitchen, not following me, giving me space, and even that made me angry, because she was still being so considerate, and I didn't want considerate. I wanted her to have loved me. That was the only thing I'd ever wanted from her, and it turned out to be the one thing she couldn't give me. We didn't do the fight thing. I keep expecting people to be surprised by that when I tell them. There was no screaming, no throwing things, no big scene. There was just this long, quiet, awful weekend where two people who'd shared a bed for 6 years suddenly moved around each other like careful strangers. The hardest part wasn't even the conversation. It was the logistics. Have you ever had to divide up a life you thought was permanent? We sat on the living room floor with all our stuff between us and it was the most surreal thing I've ever done. Whose books were whose? Who got the good pan? She kept trying to give me things. You take the couch, you love that couch. Like a good couch could balance out what she just told me. My best friend Renata came over on the Monday. She took one look at me and just held me in the doorway for a full minute without saying anything, which is exactly what I needed. Then she made me eat something. Then she said the thing that I've been chewing on ever since. She said, you know what's messed up? She's not the villain. That's what's gonna make this take longer. If she'd cheated, if she'd been cruel, you could hate her and be done. But she just didn't love you the right way and she was honest about it eventually. There's nowhere to put that. She was right, there was nowhere to put it. Here's the part one didn't see coming. About a week in, once the shock wore off a little, I started noticing this other feeling under all the grief. It took me a while to even name it. It was relief, because if I was really being honest with myself, some part of me had felt it too. The way she'd go quiet sometimes when I said I loved her. The way our anniversaries felt more like we were checking a box than celebrating something. I'd been telling myself for years that all long relationships get comfortable, that the spark thing is a myth they sell you in movies. And maybe some of that's true, but there's a difference between comfortable and one person quietly waiting to feel something that never arrives. I'd been ignoring it because ignoring it let me keep my life. Priya moved out at the end of the month. She took Biscuit, which was fair, the cat was basically hers anyway, though I'll admit I cried about a cat harder than I expected to. She hugged me at the door and said she hoped I'd find the person who felt about me the way I deserved. I said thanks. I meant it and I also wanted her gone so I could fall apart in private. The apartment was so quiet after. I'd forgotten what it sounded like to live alone. I kept reaching for my phone to tell her small things and then remembering I couldn't. That went on for months, that reflex. It fades. It doesn't disappear on a schedule but it fades. I'm going to be honest about where this lands, because I hate when people wrap these things up too neat. I'm not in a new great love. I didn't meet someone 3 weeks later who showed me what real love was. It's been almost a year and I'm still single and some nights that apartment is still too quiet. But something did change, and it's this. I stopped being scared of being alone. For years, part of why I stayed, even when it felt off, was that Priya was proof I was really who I said I was. She was my first real relationship as an out woman, and I think I believed that if I lost her, I lost the evidence. Like I'd go back to being that careful, quiet person with the nameless little secrets. That's not what happened. I'm still exactly who I am, alone in a too quiet apartment, no girlfriend, no cat. Turns out I didn't need her to be proof of anything. I just needed her, for a while, to help me get started. And maybe that's what she actually was. Not the love of my life. The person who opened the door and walked me through it and then, eventually, honestly, let go of my hand on the other side. I don't hate her. I wish I could, some days, because Renata's right that it would be simpler. But she gave me something real even if it wasn't the thing I thought it was. And she told me the truth when the easy thing would have been to keep coasting. 6 more years, who knows? I'd have taken it, and I'd have called it love, and I'd have been wrong. So here I am, single again at 31, in a quiet apartment, learning how to want the real thing instead of settling for the safe thing. It's not a happy ending. It's not a sad one either. It's just honest, and after 6 years of not quite, honest feels like a start. Would you rather she'd told you the truth like this, or kept pretending and let you keep the life? Because some days I honestly don't know which I'd choose.